I've read everything about this scene. I've read everything. I've read,
Okay.
like, people have written, like, papers on it now. But the reality is an Asian woman directed the episode. Mm-hmm. 2 black people wrote the episode. And that scene in particular, Tony, a half-black woman, and me, a half-Asian man, wrote it. And people said the dialogue is not realistic for 15-year-olds. Tony and I literally just pulled verbatim things that have been said to us as 15-year-olds.
Here we go.
Hi, I'm Jared.
And I'm Jessie.
And,
Oh boy.
I've been thinking. Hi, it's me, Your Royal Highness, and she's a CBD to my THC, Jessie Liang. And today, we have a very special guest. We have Mason Temple. You may know him as one of the stars of Netflix's Ginny and Georgia, but we know him as our pal from the basement.
A good time. Those 3 very dark years.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So if you've read his IMDb page and all the trivia about him, you will know that he went to Studio 58, which is where we went. So that's how we met, was in the dark, dark basement of theater school for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
I distinctly remember the day I met you, Mason. Do you remember?
Really?
When you met me? Probably not. I remember because it was the most K-Shaw thing that could have happened. I was like,
I don't remember this day, but I already know what you're gonna say. I already know what you're gonna say. No, she didn't.
Yeah, she did. She did. We did our Jericho Beach barbecue, and I was like fresh, new in my first A term, not the second time I did A term. So I was just like there, not knowing anyone, and she just came up to me and was like, "Jessie, I heard you're Taiwanese." Right? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, Mason's Taiwanese. And then she called you over and you were like, hi. Just like thinking that we were just going to chat. And then she just immediately went, Mason's Jessie's also Taiwanese. And she gave us that Cheshire cat smile and just walked away. And you and I were like, hey, what do we do now?
Ni hao.
It was so funny. We were just like there eating and just being like, so I guess we should speak in Mandarin to each other. Like, I don't know what to do.
Oh my god. My first recollection of you is like a crazy story, so we're gonna put it into our You're Not Ganja Believe This segment, which is where we tell a story that you're not ganja believe.
Is this 3 a.m. and how
Yes.
I saved the computer?
Yes, it
Right.
is.
I do still tell this story. That's the
Oh,
most
really?
impressive thing I've
I
ever-
tell it all the time too.
Oh.
I'm glad this is keeping alive. Okay, so it was like midnight, I think, and we had just finished. It was the night before we were in A term. It was the night before our finals, and we were like rehearsing until like midnight. And I put my laptop in my locker, and we were gonna go home, and we were gonna continue to work on props, and so we were gonna stay up later. And then I forgot something in my locker. I opened it back up, and my computer came crashing down to the floor. And I just screamed. And Nolan came running in. We were like, oh my god, what's happening? And my computer was stuck on this screen, and we couldn't do anything with it. And we phoned them. They couldn't do anything. So eventually, after crying at studio until 1:30 or 2 in the morning, we went to Mason, brought the computer, and you had this other software that allowed you to pull things out of a computer from another computer or something. What was that?
No, that's functionally what I did, but that's not what it was. So it was this USB stick.
Oh my god! You still have it?
Ubuntu. Yeah, I still got Ubuntu GNOME on this USB stick, and this is what I use.
Are
For
there
anyone listening,
Jared's nudes in there?
No, because see, here's the thing. Is because Mason was so he was working on it from his place while we were all making additional props and stuff at our own places. And then it was I don't know, 2 something in the morning, and you texted me and you were like, do you know where you saved the file? And I was like, no.
Funny story.
Funny story, because I saved it as just on my keyboard. But then I was like,
randomly typing shit.
But then I was like, however, I do remember that it is in the same file as an AC/DC song. So you searched for AC/DC, and then you found that file that contained that, because it was one of our tracks that was in it. And somehow you tracked that file down at like 3 a.m.
Oh my God.
And then we were like, because also, while he was tracking it down, Nolan and I were trying to recreate it from scratch, from memory.
Jesus.
Just in case. Yeah,
about
and
that.
so then Mason finally got it, and it was like 3 a.m. and we were like, okay, call off the dogs, like, we
Wait, but
figured
at
this
that
out.
time, were you in D term? Weren't you busy with your own finals?
I was in C term because this was you guys were in A term.
Yeah.
I distinctly
okay.
remember, and yeah, I was in the busiest term
Yeah.
possible. I don't know how I had 3. I don't know how I was
Yeah.
able to do this at 3 a.m. now, thinking about it. But
Uh-huh.
at the same time, it was just like, oh, it's an impossible challenge. Well, I'll figure it out. Do you want to know what technically I did?
Yes, I do.
What happened was when you dropped your computer, your hard drive, so it's a hard disk in there. It's a bunch of disks that are stacked up top because it's a hard disk drive. It was broken. It was malfunctioning. So that's why you couldn't get past the BIOS, which is like the motherboard's memory. There's like RAM, there's the hard drive, and then there's like the motherboards.
Yeah.
Like it's the consciousness, I guess, of the computer. And Toshiba was useless. They couldn't tell you anything besides like press F12. So to check if your hard drive was still working, I just put a different, like you can the BIOS was working, so I can just enter this USB stick as a different like operating system, and then use your hard drive like a USB stick.
Oh.
The problem was it took it felt like 2 hours.
I think it was, because we probably got to you around like 1 or 1:30.
and then I figured it out at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Holy.
Yep. And then we had to go and do our finals the next morning. So I think we got like 2 or 3 hours of sleep.
Jared, you were in tears.
Was I actually?
Yes, when I found it, you were in tears.
Yeah, I remember you
were
called me.
Actually, you were also in tears when I said, "So what is the file name?" And you're like,
I knew I fucked up. Because I also remember earlier that day, Alana was watching our piece, and then my computer almost died, and she was like, make sure you save that. And I was like, and I didn't save it.
Right.
Oh no, that's when I saved it as a random file, because I was like, okay, I'll save it. And I saved it as just a bunch of random letters. And then you told me that I needed to get myself a MacBook because they have they're secured
Solid
better.
state hard drive, or
And
you
this
can
computer
upgrade
that
it
we're
on
working
the
with right now is the MacBook I bought after that, and I've still got it. Do you have a crazy story that people are not ganja believe that you want to share with us? Probably something from Ginny and Georgia, which is what we're going to be talking about.
I gotta be honest, I don't have any like crazy stories from Ginny and Georgia. Like everything went pretty sweet. But I've got some crazy theater stories.
Okay, go for it.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
yeah.
I guess the more recent one, I don't know if this is the craziest, but when you're on, so I was on tour with Green Thumb for their show The Code, and I remember, you know, when you're on tour and you're like doing your show in front of a bunch of high school kids, it really depends on the audience, and I distinctly remember one audience that made me crack, because it was I think an all boys private school or something. You know, we weren't sure how they were going to react, because the story is about, you know, a guy that misinterprets some signals from a girl, and then he gets his feelings hurt and he kind of lashes out. So we weren't sure, you know, are they going to be toxic, or are they going to be like, you know, pretty self-aware, or are they going to, like, you know, where are they going to land? We have no idea. And Rachel Aberley, the playwright, showed up to witness as well. And I don't think I've ever had a better crowd. Because it was like a WWE match. I forget what the line was, but basically, like, when Elizabeth, she plays the character Moira in it, she tells Nathan, his character Simon, that it's essentially friends off. I remember, and this is right before Nathan has to walk off in defeat, you know, like oh, I fucked up and all that. She says her line, I forget what it is, something along the lines of friends off, and every single boy in the audience went, oh! It was the most outrageous reaction I've ever seen in my life. And this is the climax. This is the most tense, heartbreaking moment in the thing. And all the boys are like, oh shit!
They're like, yeah. Like,
They're like, oh yeah! But like we went to like crowds of like lots of girls and like they're oh my goodness. Oh my
yeah.
God. Like we had reactions like that, but holy crap, these boys, and they were taking it seriously because they were like on the edge of their seat the whole time. Like, what's gonna happen? What's she gonna do? if that's the audience and this is the wall for our set, all three of us just went. Because they were just screaming and it went on for like a solid minute.
Was it?
we're all on stage just like
A minute? That is so long.
they
That's
just
like
kept
10
going,
years
and
on stage time.
Slapping. I know. They were slapping each other's
Oh.
backs, like shaking each other, like they lost their
That's
minds.
wild.
And eventually Nathan like starts walking off, and he's supposed to look at me like Simon's supposed to look at Connor like dude, like help or like say something, and then Connor's just like, you know, moves out of the way or whatever. So he looks at me. I can still remember his face. He's like, because I'm upstage, so like no one can see his face. He's just like, me. I'm like,
Okay, so we want to get into some stuff for the show.
okay.
But you, Jessie, helped you, Mason, with the auditions for
I
this
did.
show.
Yeah,
Which
so
is
it's
so
funny. It says
weird.
like you guys are gonna ask me about the G&G audition process, but like Jessie, you were there for 75% of it. Like,
Oh, really?
yes.
No,
like,
I
the
just
only-
remember the self-tape and the callback, but I don't know like what happened before, during, or after.
There's nothing before.
There was no
Just,
like network auditions.
No, it was just another. So it is actually quite a bizarre process because I learned how everyone else auditioned, and I mean even for some of the like the smaller roles, you know, people still were flown out to LA for like, you know, director producer sessions and stuff. For me, I guess it's because it's the Asian character, so it's a lot smaller of a pool of actors in just globally, I guess, or continentally. It was for self-tape. They were looking all over the place. I got the self-tape request, as I do for like many things. And I just, you know, I called you, Jessie, to help me out with it. And yeah, I mean, you were there for most of it. Then I sang The Shallow, which that was the first song I did. I just did that on my own.
I was gonna ask, did you have to sing? Did they ask you to sing, or did you offer to sing?
Yeah, no, they asked to sing, like,
Yeah.
if you can play. The character plays guitar in a band.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
just please sing a song, and I decided to play two. They actually didn't ask for that because they just like, just as long as you know how to hold the guitar and play at the same time is all you really need. Everything was dubbed, but I sent it in. I didn't think anything of it because I'm like, you know, I've done like 100 auditions, like nothing's sticking, nothing's
Yup.
landing, so whatever.
I feel that.
Still the same case today.
Same.
Yeah, yeah, I love that life. An awful decision to become an actor. Nah.
We love it.
Anyways, like a week or two passed, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're pinned. I'm like, oh, lol. I've seen myself pinned a couple times, and nothing came of it again. So I didn't think too much of it. They asked for callback. They just wanted to see me do the scenes with the hair down. Instead of
I
in a
remember
ponytail.
that. I remember because then when I helped you with the callback, you were just like, the only note they gave me was about my hair. And we were
I
like,
know,
yeah,
like,
what else should
what-
you do in the scene then? Do you just do it the same but with hair down? Like,
Yes, so that's what we did. And then I sent it in, and then another week passed. I'm like, I didn't get it. And they're like, sing another song, but with your hair down. I'm like, okay. So I did Wagon Wheel, and I just introduced myself a little bit. I'm like, hey, my name's Mason Temple. For some reason, I'm going to do another country song for you because, I don't know, I grew up in northeastern BC, and this is like the campfire song that my dad and I would sing. Not that we go on camping often, but it's just a song that him and I both like, and one of the few country songs I like. And so I sang Wagon Wheel, and then a week later, all of a sudden, my agent's like, yep, they're interested. I'm going to engage in negotiations. And it wasn't real with me until, like, I remember this one point, I got pretty ill, and then I just remember waking up and getting his text saying, like, okay, so I did my best, but you're going to get set up with a triple banger trailer. You're going to get paid this much. What? What's a triple banger?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because like this is your first like big network booking.
First speaking role.
Yeah.
In on film and TV. Like I for some reason I can't book a one-liner on like CW anything. Like basically what I've learned in this process is this is all a crapshoot.
Oh, absolutely.
All an absolute crapshoot. Everyone gets to a certain level of talent, and then this first major gatekeeper is luck.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Like that's what I tell people. Like plenty of people have asked me, you know, how did you, like, this is your first big role. I'm an upcoming actor. I'm an aspiring actor. You know, what's some advice you would give to break through? And I'm like, honestly,
Just keep going.
you got to make sure you love it even when you don't book, because it's the only reason I booked is because I happened to be the right place, right time,
Yeah.
did the right thing. Like there was I don't provide a different skill. I don't provide anything. Not to undercut my abilities. It's just there's already so many talented people.
Yeah.
And it's just luck at the end of the day for that first step. And some people may never get that. Like if I was in Taiwan and unable to do the audition tape, if I just didn't read my email that day,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gotten it, and I clearly wouldn't have booked anything else. So I don't, like, it is pure luck, and you really do, you can't get into this business, you know, looking for money or fame.
Yeah.
You're gonna be sorely disappointed.
Oh, yeah.
You have to be strong enough to tell your family and your own mother why you're going to continue to do this, even though you're not making any money.
Yeah.
You gotta keep going, even though you told all your friends and family that you're gonna show up in the 3rd season of Virgin River, and then get cut off, and then have to tell everyone, actually, I'm not in it.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
That was a very fun conversation to have.
I got to be on my mom's favorite TV show, so that gave me some like wait time for her. Like, when's the next one? I'm like, I was on your favorite show. Let's live in that a little bit longer.
Let's keep that win. My parents are like, they're like, okay, so when's season 2 coming out? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not main cast. Like, they don't tell me these things.
First of all, did you have to tab, or was that something that you like suggested?
Okay.
Because that still ties into
Here's the
audition
story.
process.
Here's the story with the tap dancing. So, what episode was that? That was like episode 7. So they're about to do like the blue draft or whatever of episode 7, and Sarah, the creator of the show, texts me and she's like, "Okay, so what do you want to do for Ginny's birthday as Hunter? Right now we just have him leading a marching band, but like
Just a casual marching band."
Yeah. Okay. Do you want him to like lead a flash mob? Do you want to like do a birthday rap? And
Wow.
I'm like, I made a joke like, why don't I do all 3? Because I mean, at this point I'm like, wow, Hunter is extra. Wow, that is a lot. And then I follow up with another joke. I'm like, you know, I can tap dance, right? And she's like, no way, really? I'm like, lol, yeah. And then she's like, great, it's in. I'm like,
Wow.
Oh
so
my
we get to the
gosh.
table read, and then it says, Jordan tells everyone to look this direction or whatever, and then in the directions it says like Hunter leads a flash mob tap dance to the tune of Happy Birthday, and everyone at the table read laughs, and I go, ha, huh. And then like I remember Sarah and Deb, Deb is the showrunner, they both clocked that like I didn't laugh or whatever. I was like, ha ha. And they're like, what are you not happy about that? I'm like, no, it's fine, it's cool, I didn't think you'd actually put it in. And they're both like, you said you could do it, right? You can't do it. I'm like, I can't do it, but I mean, tap dance like down the hallway to Happy Birthday. Okay, no, it's cool. I could do it.
How long did you have from like choreography to
They
filming?
booked 2 sessions for me to learn it, and I'm like, okay.
Oh my god.
Well, you're a good
So
tap dancer, though.
Yeah.
No. So
Well-
here's the thing.
Excuse me, I've seen you in 42nd
Yeah, I was
Street.
gonna say, I watched you on 42nd.
42nd Street was in 2017.
Yeah, what? That's okay. That's fair. Also, remember that you borrowed my tap shoes in 42nd Street because yours broke and you like had mine for like 2 weeks. So I'm contributing to this success story as well.
Fair enough. Here's the thing. I had to explain to them, like, okay, so I was like, I can tap dance, but I was kind of joking because, like, I tap danced as a kid, and then I had to do it once for Chicago for community theater, and then I had to do it once in C-term in Studio 58, which was 2015, and then I had to do it in 42nd Street, which is the top, January and February of 2017.
Right.
At this point, it was late 2019. I don't have the muscle power. I don't have the conditioning. I didn't even have tap shoes there. Like, I remember I went to my first fitting, and they're like, okay, so where are your tap shoes? I'm like, they broke like 2 years ago. Where's Jared Meek's tap shoes? I don't know.
You call me up. Could you imagine? Hey, can you send your shoe to Toronto real quick?
No, I was like, they have to buy me shoes, obviously, like, because yours didn't fit.
Oh, yeah. Right.
They did buy me shoes. I told them, I'm like, okay, but here's the thing. You cannot get the one screw shoes. I
Yes.
2 or 1.5 years dealing with those one screw shoes at studio and just having, like, my fucking, the little metal plate fly off into the audience.
That
constantly.
is
I'm not
exactly
dealing with
why
that.
Shelly kept telling us to
Yep.
not buy those.
Yep.
Yes, get the 3 screw shoes. Any like potential tap dancers out there, like, you already know. So we got the 3 screw teletones. Had 2 sessions to learn, and I was like, guys, first of all, we weren't in a studio. We were just in, like, a different part of like the set. And on concrete. So
Oh,
it was-
no.
Yeah,
that's so bad on your
I don't know why they
knees.
didn't set me up with like
A piece of
a
wood.
studio, like a
Well,
sprung
because they
floor or
literally
something.
don't
Give me
know.
a piece of plywood,
know.
for Christ's sake.
Yeah, they
Like,
literally
I mean,
don't
like,
know that you
everyone's
need
just-
that.
Everyone's just thankful, like, they've got a job. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like this.
And
show
this is
wasn't
your
the
first
show.
big job, too, so you can't be like, excuse me, can I have a piece of wood to dance on? Like,
They're like, we
There's
just
that-
gave
yes,
you a
there's
3
that, but it's
banger
also, like-
trailer.
It's also like Ginny and Georgia wasn't Ginny and Georgia yet. You know, it was just
Yeah.
this show that Netflix had greenlit.
right.
So,
Right.
like, even if the producers were like, yeah, I don't know if it's in the budget to, like, get this stuff. So, we dealt with it on the concrete floor, and it was rough. But I still didn't have it after 2 sessions. And I was like, oh, God. So I told Sarah and Deb, like, I need at least 1 more session, like 1 private session, just, like, so I can practice. Like, I can't practice in my apartment because it's
Yeah.
an apartment. And I can't practice in the street because at this point it's snowing. So it's snowing in Toronto. So, like, I can't, like,
Of
there's nowhere I
course
can
it
do
is.
this. And they're like, okay, we'll get 1 more session. So we practiced in the lunchroom this one day, in between other people shooting. And Netflix, like, I remember I believe it was Alyssa directing that episode, and then Sarah and Deb, they were all in a room with the other producers, and it was just like, guys, this is not in the budget. We don't have the time for it, and we're gonna have to cut it. And they're like, damn it, we have to tell Mason he worked so hard on this thing. We're gonna have to cut it, whatever. So they go off to lunch and to prep to tell me, and Deb, she walks off and she sees me practicing in the lunchroom with the choreographer. She records it and sends it to Sarah and Alyssa, and apparently, according to her, she's like, we're not cutting it. It's too hot.
Excuse me?
I'm like, what?
What? I have never heard
Wow.
tap dancing and hot in the same sentence.
Well,
Neither have I, but apparently they were like, oh, we're not cutting it anymore. And they showed it to the
I
producers,
love that,
I
though.
think.
that's hilarious.
They fought for it.
Good.
They fought
Good.
for it.
You know, and there were people that didn't like that tap scene, so y'all need to realize how hard Mason worked.
More than just some people that didn't like it.
Oh, I know.
But it's, yeah.
But like, they don't understand. First of all, like how much work that was for you to put in, and how much stress that would have been, and then how much they had to fight for it. So
I also love it
That's
because
the thing.
it's
Like, Sarah and Deb were like I'm like whatever. Like, I knew it was a silly scene, and I knew I was gonna get dunked on it. But Sarah and Deb were choked because they're like, it's hot. And I don't care what anyone says.
yeah.
well, at
I
least
wish a
they
boy
think
would
so.
tap dance down the hall for me.
I would
And-
love that.
I also love it because it's like we went to a theater school, and this is the kind of skill that you learn. But I literally went after I finished C-term, I was like, I'm gonna sell my tap shoes because I'm never gonna use this ever again.
Surprise, motherfucker.
I still have mine. Mine are sitting right behind me in this closet, so maybe I should sell them on eBay now. Say they were used by Mason Temple.
That's not a lie. That's not a lie. That's true, actually. That's kind of gross, though.
Speaking of that, one of the things like when I watched the show Ginny and Georgia, I thought it was really cool that like you said, I thought as an actor you got to do kind of like a little bit of everything. like all the kinds of scenes. Like there's sexual scenes, there's kissing scenes, there's fun scenes, there's sad scenes, there's fighting scenes, there's a tap dance. Like you could kind of like do everything. But I think with the scene that stuck out to me the most, and I was telling Jared before we started this, is the Oppression Olympics scene where you're fighting with Antonia, because I don't think ever seen people of color discussing something like this ever before, and I wish the scene had gone on and on and on. It was too short in my opinion, but I really enjoyed watching that scene, and I think it was like after that I texted you and I was like, really good work, Mason.
Yeah.
What was that
scene,
like to like shoot that scene?
So okay. They defaulted to Tony and I for that scene because only us two could possibly write that.
Good.
Because it's two biracial people talking about stuff two biracial people talk about. And here's the thing. I need to preface this for anyone that's listening. I've read everything about this scene. I've read everything. I've read like people have written like papers on it now.
Yeah.
Because there are people that hate the scene.
Yeah.
It's crazy because like when I remember the first few reviews, first day of reviews really, people said that scene was the best scene in the series. And then a certain part of Twitter cut it, starting at when they started throwing insults at each other.
Oh.
And said it was racist and blamed Netflix for being like white writers writing the scene. But the reality is an Asian woman directed the episode. Two black people wrote the episode. And that scene in particular was, all those people cleared it when Tony, a half black woman, and me, a half Asian man, wrote it. And people said the dialogue is not realistic for 15-year-olds. Tony and I literally just pulled verbatim things that have been said to us as 15-year-olds.
Oh,
like,
wow.
The scene is about two biracial people who should be on the same side. And like everything I've read about is like, why aren't these people on the same side? They have so much shared experience. And like, that's, yes, absolutely. But when people start trying to say, but I have it worse, and then another person goes, no, actually I have it worse, and no, but this, but no, but that, and start wagging the finger at each other about all this stuff, like, it's meant to be messy. It's meant to be messy, and they're both meant to be like correct about themselves and wrong about the other person.
Well, and they're characters of real people. Everybody, they can't be perfect characters. They're flawed people.
Yes, but I find it really funny that Georgia's allowed to be flawed and people love her. Marcus is allowed to be flawed and people love him.
And
in
that is
first
exactly
episode,
what
I'm
I was
that's
saying.
kinda
I was like,
problematic.
because Jared was the one that was telling me he had seen the articles about it. I never looked anything up. I just watched the show and then I just moved on from then. But I was shocked that you said that there was a lot of people criticizing the scene, because I was like, why isn't anyone criticizing any of the white people? Like, they do a bunch of not so great things. Are there articles about
people
them?
of color are meant to be monoliths, and it's kind of weird when you're like, it shouldn't be that case, but like that's how it's always been. Like, like if you see a black character do something bad, it's like, well, look at this, and or an Asian character do something like it's always been that way with like indigenous characters, Arab characters, every kind of non-white character. We don't get the same kind of leeway to be flawed because we have to be perfect because we're always being compared to white people. And it's particularly complicated when you're biracial, because I remember all the comments about how it's like people obviously didn't watch the scene because they're committing the very thing that we're talking about in the scene.
Well, that's what Twitter is. Like,
but Twitter's very powerful because it's an angry mob.
Yep.
People were saying, I remember this one comment. This is the only comment that really like actually did get under my skin. Was someone said, if you wanted to talk about race, you should have got a full black woman and a full Asian man.
Excuse me.
And it's like,
that's exactly what the show's about.
Like, just because I'm biracial, like I'm half white, that does not mean that I'm not racialized.
Yeah.
Like, I literally just the other day, someone that lives nearby me assumed that my father wasn't my father. My father's white. And when I told them, I'm half white, and they're like, oh, and then they just started going on this race thing, and it was just like, Jesus Christ. Like, biracial people, no one's trying to say we have it worse or better or whatever. We're just saying we have an experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is all we're saying. And that is so discredited, because it's like, well, you're white adjacent or whatever. It's like, okay, but I've never had white people tell me, hey, why don't you come down to the country club and we'll go for a little two-step. You tell me to go back to your fucking country, you insert.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to say a lot of people of color. Many people that I've experienced who are people of color don't even realize that could happen to me, because they don't see a person of color when they look at me. And what I've kind of come to figure out or understand or whatever is that if you grow up in a ethnically homogenous society, like say Taiwan, and you just see mainly Taiwanese people all the time, when you see someone like me, you're going to see a white guy. You're going to see American white man, because I don't know, you're the regular features, like it's not that you're not programmed to see these features that are like similar to you. You're like, oh, that's different from me. Yeah. That's just an innate human response to look for what's different, because maybe it's dangerous or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's just a primal thing.
That's definitely how I felt in Taiwan. Just, I was looked at a lot.
Yes.
Walking down the street, at the subway. Why? Yeah. I thought I looked Taiwanese. Not to the Taiwanese people.
Not to the Taiwanese people. And similarly, in like semi-rural Canada, where I grew up, Fort St. John, like people didn't say I'm half Asian. They said I'm Asian. It was almost as if I was more Asian or something, because I'm weird Asian. I'm just like, not like, wow, you don't look like Jackie Chan, but you definitely don't look like me. So you're Asian and you're weird. It's I have a hard time trying to explain to people, but basically, white supremacy is not inclusive. Now, colorism, that's a different thing.
Right.
100%, you know, like the lighter your skin, like even with white people, like one of my friends on the show, Damien, he plays Press. I had a conversation with him about it, because like, since he's got darker skin, he's Italian, like that's his heritage, and he's got darker skin as a white person, darker skin than me. Sometimes people treat him differently because they think he's something, like he's not white or something, and sometimes it's kind of weird, like there is still a little bit of prejudice towards Italian people in this country. I have personally witnessed it. Anyways, like colorism, it's different. It's different from racism. Colorism permeates throughout like every race.
Every culture, kind of has
that.
that.
Every single culture. Like even in Asia, like there's a difference in experience that you're gonna get if you're a dark skinned Asian or if you're a pale skinned Asian. If you're fair skin. Like even the other day I heard that like, oh, you know, I was talking about how I wasn't killing it in the scene here, and they're like, oh, you should just go back to Taiwan. You'd be like an instant celebrity. I'm like, yes, because that's what I want to do. I want to go and be worshipped for not getting a tan. Like, what?
Did your family?
I wrote that into it helped me finish a screenplay of mine. I had to do some edits for a pilot that I'm writing that I want to pitch, and
nice.
I was like, you know what, I'm gonna use that right in here. That's gonna be the final bit.
I was gonna ask, did your family ever pressure you into becoming whiter? Because I grew up in Brazil, so my mom used to get so much flack from my grandma. Would always tell my mom, like, how do you let the girls out in the sun? They're so
don't
dark.
Go in the sun,
blah blah blah.
Sunscreen,
and
bring
like
an umbrella.
The sun is everywhere in Brazil. You can't escape it.
Fucking Brazil.
I'm in Brazil. It's 40 degrees every day.
Yeah.
So I just was darker, but my mom, she thought it was great. Like, my mom loves a tan, but my grandma would always be like, why do you let your girls out in the sun?
Right. I can't say for certain for my Taiwanese family in Taiwan. I don't think they particularly cared, because, I mean, I don't know, they don't really care. But I know my mom, like, as a model, she was always just trying to get her ass to, like, the Philippines or Thailand to get tanned. She was 100% like she's not very, I don't know, she's quite pale now because she's been living in Fort St. John forever, but I mean, tons of her photos, she looks dark, and I don't know, my dad never really cared. He was just like, you know, hot
yeah.
Asian model. like, dang, I'm living a great life. Like, they never cared about that kind of stuff, but kind of to a fault because, and I've talked about this with them during the summer of BLM and all that, like, because they didn't quite understand my experience growing up in Fort St. John, and how my life and my relation with race is. But yeah, as far as like just skin color goes, they never really cared.
That's good.
Honestly, I'm kind of grateful for that because I know that's not the case for many Asian descended people, because there's still very like colorism in Asia it's a whole nother level, like
really bad. Yeah.
I remember like during last year when people, some white people, friends, starting to understand a little more of the complexities about racism. It's like, okay, now you understand racism exists. All right, that's book 1. Book 2 is much more complicated. Racism doesn't just exist among white people. There's a lateral racism. There's racism.
Oh, yeah.
You change the power dynamics by going to a different country. I mean, hell, like in Japan, Korean is a different race, and there's a whole racism thing involving that.
Yeah.
And Japanese
There's a
imperialism.
lot of discrimination.
Yeah, like I just know personally in Asia, like holy crap, I remember. I'm not gonna tell this story because it's racist, but it's just like, just some awful experiences sometimes with certain people. Of course, that doesn't reflect all of Asia. Particularly, I don't think Taiwan. Taiwan's actually like the most progressive place probably in all of Asia.
Yeah.
But still, you'll find it. I'm just grateful that people are willing to listen a little bit more and talk about it in more complex ways. And I've never in my life did I ever think Netflix or any other big media entity would want to tell the story of biracial people, empower biracial people, and support it. Like I remember when those, a lot of negative articles came out about the scene. They still were like, "We support you," and if you want to, make a statement or something.
That's like, yeah, because I was gonna ask, like you. This show came out online. The whole season's out, so like your life changed overnight. And so I was like wondering, because you just all this negative critiques and there were people that were really fucking shitting on Hunter, and I'm like, were you prepared for that? Like, this is your first big role, like were you expecting that to be a part of the game? Did you get any sort of media training? Like how were you equipped and how did you handle that situation?
So I received media training after the fact for interviews. And, the whole entire time we were filming, everyone was, like, anyone who's already, like, a name, a public figure was, like, get ready. So when the show comes out, like, on paper, I'm prepared. I remember me and the rest of Hunter's gang, so, like, Brody, played by Tyson Smith, Jordan, played by Colton Gobo, and Press, played by Damian Romeo, but it's Romeo. Love you, Dave. None of us were like famous or well known or whatever beforehand. So when the show came out, and Jess, you're gonna love this. I think we hit #1 Brazil first.
Yeah.
Wow, Brazilian fans are something else.
Oh my gosh, we're
Holy
wild.
crap!
Yeah, we are
And
wild people.
they make it very clear that they're from Brazil.
Yep.
I still sometimes get love from Brazil and all this stuff. I received everything from please come to Brazil and impregnate me with 3 kids, to I want to break your legs and kill you, beat the shit out of you with your tap shoes, you sniveling faggot.
Oh my
like
gosh.
everything you could possibly imagine, all at once. And it was wild. Like my parents told me, like, don't let the fame get over into your head. I'm like, I don't even know how I can let anything get into my head.
Yeah.
Right now. It's just stuffed full of everything.
Yeah.
And people were worried about me because, of all the new people, I have one of the larger roles. So I'm getting a lot of stuff, and it's all very new to me. But I don't know. At the end of the day, it's like, I mean, I was bullied horrendously in high school and middle school, and it wasn't just words. It was violence, and it was threats of actual potential, like it was real shit, which is funny because again, like it's like trying to make trauma mean something for you or whatever. It's as if that prepared me for this because like it was exhausting to deal with all this stuff. I'm like, this is still nothing compared to high school. This is nothing to getting the shit kicked out of you in the middle of Ken Park during gym class and having no one do anything or even be aware of it.
That's
like,
awful.
Like, as long as like I'm still able to go to bed, and like it's just like whatever. It's
Well, like
fine.
that's
It's
the thing is like
exhausting. It's
I
annoying.
saw like I had seen videos of you pop up on my like For You page on TikTok of them like making fun of like the tap scene or something, and I was like reading through the comments and I was like, you should really be able to separate actor from character because like fuck off. Anyways,
I mean,
but
here's the thing though. Here's the thing. And I had to make this clear to Netflix too. I'm like, because like I remember even Sarah was like, you want me to do something about it, like post about it? I'm like, what are you gonna put? They're 14.
yeah,
It's
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
12 to 17-year-olds. You can't, like, it's over. If you engage with them, you make it
exactly.
worse.
But it's
Yeah.
like they don't know like you know you, and
But
it's
they're
like
never-
so for
they're
me
not
it's
gonna
like
know if I tell them or if anyone tells them, like literally they have to figure it out themselves.
Yeah.
And like that's it. And here's another thing, like the positive spin I try to put towards it. Like they're directing their attention to Hunter Chen, a fictional
Yeah.
character that yes played by me and yes has my face and all that, but they're directing that attention to Hunter Chen and not some other kid at their school. Like because I know if they're willing to do that to me, they're willing to do that to someone at school. I don't know how. I'm just like really concerned that these people can't tell the difference, but I'd rather have them attack me than attack, whatever Mason Temple.
Someone who can't
is in their
handle it, yeah.
school. Yeah.
But at the same
Because-
time, like, it was like, I was so frustrated when I would see them because, I know you. So I'd be like, you guys don't know. Like, what if, you're not in a good place mentally right now and this discourages you from continuing to act? Like, that's, as an actor who's, like, wanting to be in your position, that's so hard to see that happen to somebody. And so I'm glad that,
yes.
You have the ability to separate that.
There are only three things that really kind of got on my skin when it came to all of that, because you're right. I mean, you just got to depersonalize it. That's like, if you can't do that as an actor, good luck.
Exactly.
But I mean, it was that one comment from Twitter that I mentioned earlier. There was one The Guardian said, the only review I can quote is The Guardian when they said, and then there's Hunter Chen dependable Hunter Chen, played by Mason Temple, who both looks and acts 40. That one did sting because I was like, what? Come on. I'm like an emerging actor, and the Guardian's just going to be like,
No!
dunk on me like that.
That's...
like,
Hmm.
fuck you. Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
That
that's...
one did.
God.
There's a small horde of people on the internet that are like, he's a 40-year-old man. He's a pedophile because of this. The way I smile has crow's feet, and I don't, and also like these forehead wrinkles. I
Dude,
don't,
same. Hello, there's a xylophone on my forehead.
I mean, like, I don't know. I'm half white. I'm sorry. Miley Cyrus had forehead wrinkles all throughout Hannah Montana.
Yeah, come on.
Because guess what? Life is stressful.
And Jason Earls
Wake
in
up.
Hannah Montana was like 40, so...
Exactly.
And he didn't look it.
Like, I like, most people are like, I don't get it. You don't look 40. You look like you're 16. I'm like, well, I don't think I look 16. I think I look very obviously in my 20s. But like, it's just that The Guardian would dunk on an emerging actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what? I'm not
That's
like,
the weird
like dunk on
part.
Tom Cruise or something. Like, I'm literally
Yeah.
a no one. This is my first speaking role. And it's like, shut up, Mason. You're 40. What the
That's
But
awful.
also, like, how does that
So-
help at all for anyone
It's
reading
not
the
critique.
reviews?
It's not criticism.
Yeah.
I can't do anything about that. Like,
exactly.
that's why I'm like, they literally just chose violence that day, and they chose to direct it at me. I'm like,
That's so
whatever. I'll
unfortunate.
never read The Guardian
Oh.
again. Anyways, yeah, the Guardian thing, the Twitter thing, and the only other thing that got under my skin is just people undermining like the show because it's poppy, it's pop culture-y, it's
Gen Z.
I don't know, it's yeah, like as if any of that is invalid.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Like there was one review that like even the creator was like, yeah, we are definitely hot nacho fire mess or whatever that is, some Guy Fieri reference that they made, and that's what we're going for, hot trash nachos or whatever. But like that's not illegitimate, and I do believe a lot of there's portion of that comes from misogyny because the show was created mainly by women, and it's like, oh well, of course the women would not be deep or some stupid shit like that. But like,
That's exhausting.
like just because there's like some pop culture references doesn't degrade the show. Like,
Exactly.
the show is,
Hello, how many people love Gilmore Girls?
I think of like
Hello.
Community. Like Community's full of pop culture references. No one had a problem with that.
Well, like even
they
so,
also
even if it
loved
wasn't like even if you think the show is cheesy or whatever, you think like whatever you think it is, there is representation on that show that is so important. Not only in the cast, but in like for me watching it, like I recognize that this is like a show that's mainly for Gen Z, and like I feel that I don't connect to some of the stuff because I didn't have that experience when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And when I watch it now, I'm like, that is what high school is like. I just don't relate to that because I didn't have that experience. Like, I would never have been able to kiss another guy in high school. So to see like the girl get to kiss another girl on the show, it's like that
Well,
is
and no one
huge.
questions like the sexuality.
Exactly.
She just gets to be whatever she wants to be.
Yeah, that
also,
is
like,
so
when
important.
When people say the show is like this or that, when they try to diss the show, and like a lot of these late reviews, you know, trying to destroy the show because of the Taylor Swift stuff or the Pressure or whatever. Like they're basically these people, like, I don't feel like they actually watched the show. Like there's a reason why it's like there's a reason why it's popular, you know what I mean? And people can't seem to, like, I don't know, they try to degrade the show because this, that, or whatever, but it's like, well, people still watched it.
Exactly. Regardless of what people think,
They binge it.
it's being talked about a ton, and it was number one everywhere, and it's
Like, we broke
coming
Tiger
back
King's
for a season
record
2.
according to
So
Forbes, you know, like,
yeah,
some of these reviews are like, it's a terrible show or whatever. Like at the end it says, but I still binged it.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh my gosh.
like you couldn't look away. So I don't know why you think
That's
it's terrible.
so-
There's something about it that you like. Then there's something about it that you like.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
provocative.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and hey, I'd rather be interesting than something that's really good that no one saw.
I also really like that the adults get full, flushed out storylines too. Like, it is definitely a show for like younger audiences, but then there are still mature storylines with the adults, which is like chef's kiss. Because a lot of times you'll find the adults to be supportive characters with very thin storylines, and they have stakes, they have it all, they all have developed characters. I like that.
Yeah. Well, you know, we have Moira from Schitt's Creek, and
Not Moira, right? It's Jocelyn.
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 Sorry.
I love
And
her.
She's I wish she was my mom.
Yeah.
So Jen and I were the only two from Vancouver, but Jen's like an established, like she was in Schitt's Creek, you know what I mean? Like she's part of an Emmy Award-winning show.
Yeah.
I'm just some Joe Blow from Van, and showing up and like partying at TIFF with these people. I'm like, and everyone's like, "Oh, what have you been in?" I'm like, "I don't know, my bedroom, like
A basement.
I was on
like-
42nd Street at Student.
yeah, 42nd Street on 49th West." You know, like it's bizarre.
Yeah.
Like everyone knew everyone, and people have seen each other in like audition rooms. I remember it was the worst. That first day, everyone was super nice, but I'm just there like a sore thumb. Every other one of these kids, the people that play the kids in the show, they're all talking to each other. I'm just sitting down, twiddling my thumbs, like, cool, cool. I don't fit in. I don't know anyone here yet. And then I became friends with everyone.
Yeah.
Like everyone was actually super nice. I've heard lots of horror
good.
stories about, you know, divas and you know, prima donnas, but no one on the show was like that.
I'm so
Every
glad.
single person that I interacted with was a gem.
Which is great when you have like a mix of up and coming actors and established actors, because the established actors are already established enough that they might have lost those, you know, that ego, and then up and coming actors
Hope that they would serve as an example.
exactly,
For everyone
and then the up
else.
and comers are happy to be there. You know,
True.
Like I partied with Scott Porter, and he gave me advice, like just going like how you know one should craft their career and all this shit, and you know, Brianne Howie is a gem. Nathan Mitchell, he called me for happy birthday earlier this year. I couldn't even believe that. I'm like, Nathan remembers. Damn.
That's so sweet.
Like they're like everyone on the show, just absolute beauty. They're my friends. I take a bullet for them.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Is there anything that I don't want to say like what's next for you because I hate when people ask me that because I'm
I
like,
hate it when that happens too.
yeah,
because it's
I'm always
nothing.
busy, but I have nothing to show you right now. Okay, so stop
Well,
asking.
like,
So I want to ask instead, like, what are your goals for the next like year or two?
You said you have a pilot.
That's a good one.
Right?
Yeah. So I wrote a pilot last year for Netflix's virtual candidate pitch. No writing experience whatsoever, but other than like helping out for that one scene in G&G. And I've been working on it since. I had some Netflix producers that were willing to read it. They read it and gave me some pointers, and I've addressed all but one. But that one I can't really address because it's kind of integral to the show. But yeah, it's done. I'm working on the pitch today, and probably for the rest of the week. And we'll see if I can sell this thing. It's about growing up in Fort St. John. It's called Half and Half, and it's about just duality in general. So,
I love that.
being biracial, bisexual, and yeah. Other than that, I'm gonna be going back to uni.
You're going back to
You are?
school?
Yeah, I actually completed a year last year. Well, no, I
For
completed
what?
a semester, and I barely made it out of the second semester because G&G was just like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And all my classes are, oh, God. Yeah.
What are you taking?
Creative writing.
Oh,
I didn't get in my
Ooh.
first attempt, but I got in my second attempt.
Okay.
And yeah, just gonna be doing some poetry. He said very excitedly. Some fiction. He said also very excitedly. But screenwriting, definitely.
Yay.
Doing some
Yay.
screenwriting.
That's exciting.
Which is
Oh,
awesome.
good.
I love
And,
writing.
I don't know, whenever there's a second season, hopefully I'm in it. So
Oh, Mason, where can people find you?
Yeah.
I'm mainly just on Instagram at The Empty Life.
I still love that name. It's so clever.
Okay, so for the people listening that are like, oh, what, is it just some emo thing? It is, but it's also like, everyone at home, what are my name is Mason Temple, what are my initials? Life. There you go.
M-T.
Figured it out. Done.
Mason Temple life, baby.
I don't think I
Yeah.
ever put that together until now.
Oh my god.
Really?
MT, it's Mason Temple's life, baby.
Okay, I
The
see
empty
that
life.
now when you
The
say
empty life.
the empty life, but when I'm reading it, it's just an empty life.
To be
you know?
fair, I think I only got it when you explained it to me like a couple years ago in school, but
I mean, everyone only gets it when I explain it to them. The origin of that is Jelena Fair, if you're listening, in grade 5, told me to point to my head and say my initials. I'm like, okay, MT. Oh.
Okay, so our outro is we say THC you later.
All right.
Well, first of all, thanks for being here. It's so funny because it's like, for us, it's just like we're, just chatting with one of our friends.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, this is like a celebrity interview. Like, woo!
Don't use that word. Don't use that word.
Okay, so our outro is THC you later.
Okay, we can
Yeah.
do this.
We can do this. Okay, we ready?
Yeah.
T
H.
See
you
Later.